But when it comes to Buddhism, when it comes to Hinduism, mindfulness is about you and your ability to perfect yourself. If, for example, your hand is going to go up to ask a question, and if you come to realize that you don't really embody the question, it's just a question out of curiosity. It's not really your question, it's plagiarism. It's appropriation of sorts. So you say, so can you tell me a little bit about the life of Plato? Who gives a shit about Plato? That's not even your question. Now, if on the other hand, you can ask a very innocent question such as, can you tell me a little bit about the life of Plato? If I am creative enough, inspiring enough, and cunning enough to take your question and then reply to it in a very creative, inspiring way, that also you also will be impacted by my emotions. When next time you come to class, you say, well, you know, how do I become a Plato? And what that says to me is that over the weekend you've thought about the question, but it's more than that. The question has impacted you, not just intellectually, but also emotionally. Now, what happens when a question engages you? Well, your body is not going to take you to Costco. You don't want your body to go to Costco because Costco is filled with distraction. All you want to do is be around Plato. Now, how do you embody, or what lives inside a really, really good and intense question? If I was to ask you, let me create a story. Imagine for a moment that I am excessive in drinking alcohol. I just drink a bit too much. Sometimes my wife gives me a look, and that look tells me, you should stop. Sometimes my kids give me a look. Maybe they're brave enough to say a few things to me. And when I put my head down, I say to myself, how can I quit drinking? But it's because of the guilt I feel about the ways my wife and my kids look at me. Maybe once in a while I look myself in the mirror. Maybe sometimes I smell myself and I smell like alcohol and I don't like it. And sometimes I do ask people, how did you stop drinking? Maybe I read books, maybe I watch YouTubes, maybe I watch gurus who talk about quitting drinking. But the truth is, I'm not really in the right stage to be serious about the question I'm asking because I'm not serious about quitting drinking. I ask it, and I do want to quit, but I'm just not very serious at this stage. And when I go to the AA center and I say, I am here because I want to quit, everybody there imagines that I'm very serious, but I'm not. They just don't know it. Now, is it true that sometimes I can deceive myself into imagining that I am serious? Yeah. Then I go home and my wife and I have a screaming argument about my excessive drinking. And she threatens me that if you don't stop, I will take the kids. I will leave. I'll go to my mom's house. You need to stop drinking. You're abusive. And some people drink and become mute. Some people drink and become loud. In my case, let's just say I'm loud. And then one day I call my mom while being drunk, and once she hears my voice and the way I speak, she just hangs up the phone. I go home and the suitcases are packed, the kids are ready to go. For the first time, I realized how serious this issue is. And at that moment, I kneel before my wife and I ask her, what do I need to do so that you could stay and not leave? I really mean it. Now, it doesn't mean I have the will or the support system to quit, but I do really mean sincerely that I want to quit. But it's a passing thing. You know, I begin to bargain with my wife, but I don't really know much about addiction. I don't know much about habits or routines. And this story just continues. Day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, until one day I come home and there's no one home. And I drink because I don't really know what to do with myself. I don't know what to do with my past. I don't know what to do with my emotions. So knowing that there is no one home and I'm isolated and betrayed and abandoned, at least that's what I feel, I go to the closest bar and I really drink. And I wake up in my bed, it's wet, filled with vomit and urine, and I hate everything about my life. And then I go to the AA center at 10:30 in the morning. No one's there except the guru, the person who usually guides the meeting. And I look at him, and all of a sudden, for the first time in many decades, I break down. I say, I have lost everything. I really need to stop drinking. How do I do it? What lives inside me is grief. What lives inside me is loss. What lives inside me is anger. What lives inside me is pain and sadness. So when I ask, how do I quit drinking? what my teacher sees in me is that a man who's been broken, a man who has lost everything, a man who has no self-respect, a man who has no life, a man who's completely depressed and abandoned by God, by life, by his family. There's a great amount of pain. I embody the question. That question has a tremendous amount of potency and value. If I was to ask some of you in this class, or maybe our next assignment for this class will be, write an essay about old age. I mean, looking at this class, many of you are young, you're healthy, you haven't lost very many abilities just yet. You're filled with dreams and hopes and ambitions. You're young, it's your right to have all those things. Some of you will do some research, some of you will read some books, listen to some audios, sit for a couple of weeks and write this wonderful essay. Maybe you'll have AI generate a good essay for you. And when I read your essay, I realize, man, you know, he or she is 20, maybe 25, maybe 30. What a beautiful essay they have written. But the truth is, all you've done is string together some very, very beautiful words together. They sound good. If you watch that movie with Robin Williams and Matt Damon, Good Will Hunting, there's a scene where they're sitting in the park and Robin Williams looks at Matt Damon and says, I know you're a genius. In the previous meeting, of course, Matt Damon had said some nasty things about Robin Williams' wife without really knowing the backstory, which was she had cancer. He would go to the hospital every single day. Visiting hours did not really apply to him. He would stay there the entire day and night. But Matt Damon is this young, fearful kid who hasn't processed his past well. But he's a genius. He remembers everything that he reads. So while they're sitting in the park, he says, if I was to ask you what love is, you would probably give me a quote from Shakespeare. But you don't really know what it means to be in love with a woman with stage 4 cancer, going to the hospital every single day. And you also love this woman. And you also know that there isn't anything you can do. You're helpless. All you can do is just watch this woman scream in pain. And almost every single one of us in this classroom have had a question that really mattered to us because you went into a relationship with a great amount of hope and dreams and expectations. You loved. You were the embodiment of this force we call love. You don't really understand it. You don't know much about it. You don't reflect on it. You don't even know what intentions you had when you first walked into this relationship. All you know is that Eros is you. And when you make sacrifices for your companion, you are agape. You are the Lamb of God. You wait by the phone. You give your money away. You give your body away. You give your time away. Then things don't pan out. And you are heartbroken. And what is the language of those who are heartbroken? You cry. You lock yourself in the room. If you happen to be religious, you pray not because you love God. You pray because you miss your companion. And ultimately, if you really, really, really embody the question, the only language, the only alphabets you have to express that question is silence. Because language is far too small and far too crude to be a good container for all of your emotions, all of your hopes and dreams that have been crushed by life. Now, what a good teacher, at least my experience has been, when I was very, very young like you guys, what a good question is, I ran into this man at my mom's cousin's house. Both of their names are Hussein. And, you know, it's a gathering. It's a conversation about politics and religion and the social climate of Iran. And all of us in this class want a little self-importance. So I asked some questions so I could become visible. But I didn't really much care about the questions. At a certain point, this guy says, you know, every Wednesday we have gatherings at my house. You're more than welcome with your father to join us. And my father is a political junkie. I suppose every Middle Easterner is a political junkie because just everything is chaos all the time. If your mom is sick, if your dad is sick, if your brothers are sick, all you think about is healthcare and sickness and how to remedy the people you love. So I remember, and I don't know how this stuff really happens. It's what they call in Persian a thief at night. I was at the car wash 6 nights into these 6 months after, into these gatherings. I'm washing this white Honda. I'm washing the hood. I look at my father and I say, you know, everything that that guy talks about is true. It really is true. And I call this other guy, this Hussein, and I say, is it possible to come to your house and talk more about the stuff that you're, involved with, engaged in? He says, sure. And so initially I go there and I ask questions. I don't really understand why I'm asking these questions, but I'm just asking these questions. And so our gatherings last for about 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 hours. Then after about a year or two, I say, you know what? I'm just going to write my questions down. When we go to his house, and there were 3 of us, myself, my best friend Mehrdad, and my mom's cousin Hussein. We go to his house and all of us have a notebook in hand, and all of our notebooks are like a set of questions, and we ask him. And I remember one time I asked him, what is this genealogy about in the Gospel of Matthew? I mean, what the hell is this for? Because the first book that my own teacher gave me was the 4 Gospels. And he said, your task is to memorize the entirety of these 4 books. So when you come to my house and I say Matthew 5:11, you need to tell it to me by heart. And after about 4 or 5 years, I realized that I can't write my questions down. I don't really know what I'm asking. I don't even know what the fuck I'm looking for. All I know is that I like this guy, and I like when I go to his house, and I like when I look at him. And when he's not around, I feel bad about myself and my life. I just want to be around him all the time. And all of a sudden I realized I had no questions at all. The only thing I wanted was to be in his presence. Now, the funny thing is this. Remember our conversation last night. Hussein was advertising a certain set of ideas. Initially, I was just curious. In curiosity, you don't have intense emotions. You're just curious. It's like, I'm curious about who Deborah is. I'm not at a stage where I want to stalk her, see where she lives, if she has an email. I'm not there yet. I'm just curious. Who is she? Where are you from? Do you have a boyfriend, a girlfriend? How old are you? What books do you read? Just the casual, simple questions. They're really stupid, but if there is enough attraction, enough juice and excitement and inspiration, it has the potential, the possibility of me looking at Deborah, but no longer curious, but interested. And when you're interested, you ask more pointed questions. In interest, you're a bit more focused. Your attention is a bit more intense, but you're not yet committed. Why? Because there is Deborah, there's also Karen, there's also Q, there's also E, and Elijah, and Matt, and Rhett. At any time, this interest could be crushed, and another curiosity that has the potential to peak to interest can come about. If, on the other hand, my interest in Deborah grows, as it did for me with Hussein, all of a sudden you realize, you know what? I don't like to go anywhere where Hussein isn't. I still didn't understand. I still didn't want to do philosophy. I still was very confused. Now, one of the problems with the next stage, which is infatuation, is your old life no longer makes sense. It no longer grounds you. It no longer anchors you. It feels cheap. You can no longer relate to the old life. Imagine you are married, but all of a sudden you find yourself infatuated with another human being. Even though you've been married for about 5, 10, 15, 20 years, your marriage no longer makes sense to you. Because someone, a stranger, has breathed life into you, passion into you, love into you. You still don't understand it. And you feel guilty, you feel confused, you feel conflicted. And the truth is, there isn't much you can do. Up to the point of interest, you have the will to walk away. Guilt has the power to force you to walk away. Even at the stage of infatuation, when you ask the person you're infatuated about, would you like to have dinner? What they don't really understand is you are emotionally involved with them now. They only hear the question, but they don't see the emotions. And they don't realize how much you miss them. They just hear the words. When you get to the point of love, which is a step beyond obsession, there is a tremendous amount of one-pointedness about you just want this particular person. And so all of life shrinks, and the only thing that is valuable for you is this person. And all the questions that you want to ask revolve around this person. Now that is an embodied question. It has a great amount of intensity. And task, I think, of a really good teacher is, all of you in this class, myself included, we all have lives. Our plates are full. We have a past. We're trying to figure out what the hell to do with our lives. And then you take a class for just a stupid grade, and rightly so, because your future depends on it. Your intention was a simple grade, and all of a sudden an idea goes inside you. Why, how, when, who, nobody knows. It's the mystery, it's a mystery. If anyone tells you that they can make you curious about something, they're lying to you. It's magic. Go back to our history. Jesus, Moses, the Buddha, Muhammad, Moses, none of those single giants could ever make anyone wise. They were all betrayed. Muhammad fought 40 battles. Moses, despite doing all these magic tricks for his people, felt betrayed. Jesus, betrayed by 12 disciples. The Buddha came to realize most of the people have no capacity for his teachings. Lao Tzu left. Confucius created a cult. Plato would not allow anyone who was not in love with philosophy to ever enter his school. Now, all of you in this class have lives. Imagine one of these nights when we're talking about some nonsense, all of a sudden you become curious. Now, there is a part in us that desires to protect what lives inside us already. You're here for a grade. You don't want to be curious about an idea. And all of a sudden you realize your own psyche will do whatever it can to put your curiosity on the cross, nail it, kill it, and make sure it never resurrects. And despite your best attempts to kill the curiosity, you have an assignment due. This class meets 3 nights a week. And there is a reason why I have never canceled my night classes during the summer, because it's night. There is something very special about having evening classes. And as you begin to sit and listen, and knowing full well that the assignment is due on Sunday, you realize despite your best attempt to destroy the curiosity, once again it has resurrected. And now it piques your interest. And then you begin to think about it. Then you begin to talk about it with your friends. And the problem with becoming interested in these ideas and talking about these ideas to your friends and asking questions to your friends, revolving around these ideas, your friends will eventually look at you and say, listen, we came here to have a good time. Can you just shut your mouth, please? And you realize your best friends condemn you for wanting to be a bit more serious, a bit more reflective. And remember, we enjoy conformity. We like to belong to communities. So what happens? If you want to keep your friends, you get rid of the ideas that exist in your head. But as you spend more time with these ideas, you realize all of a sudden, the ideas just don't leave you alone. And the deeper they take root, the more you can relate, the more you can identify with these ideas. And then you begin to ask questions. Now, when you raise your hand in class and you ask questions, it means that there is a crack now inside your soul, that there is a slight feeling of homesickness, that you're looking for something. Now, you may not know what it is, but you're looking for something, whether it's beauty or perfection, whatever it may be. Make things work with your companion, it matters very little. But something is oozing out of you in the form of a question. And the truth is, if you are in an emotional relationship with these ideas, your questions are always going to come out wrong. Always. And it doesn't really matter what answer anyone gives you. No answer is ever going to satisfy you, because you don't really know what the hell you're looking for. You're not looking for Plato. You're looking for the thing that lives inside Plato. You're not interested in Romeo and Juliet. What you're interested in is in a love that is eternal, indestructible by space and time. You're not interested in Jesus. What you're interested is, you want to be inspired. It's the inspiration. And you use Jesus as a conduit to be inspired, to come to life.